Hello and welcome to Hopscotch, a podcast that hops between languages and cultures to share cross-cultural conversations about stories and books. I'm your host and Fulbright ETA, Erin Addison. Today, we're going to be talking about the story A Cold Unlike Any Other by Magdalena Helguera. We'll be having a conversation with Camila about the story and its many unique aspects. Camila is currently studying to be a primary school English teacher here in Uruguay. Camila, welcome to Hopscotch.
Well, thank you. That's a pleasure for me to be part of this series of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you here and to talk about this very cool story. I had a lot of fun reading it. So for the listeners, could you give a brief summary of the story and also tell us about the author and the illustrator?
Yeah, sure. Well, in the story, Mr. Narigetti it's a common officer worker, but he gets an uncommon cold and wishes are granted when he sneezes. So the magical event leads to disaster because everyone asks for things that they want. And well, these requests appear in unexpected ways. So it's complicated for him.
Yes.
Then the author, Magdalena Helguera, is from our country. She was born in Montevideo, and her books have been published in other countries, other Latin American countries. And something interesting is that the illustrator, Alfredo Sodergit, is from my city, here from Rocha, and he has also illustrated many books, mainly for children, and he has illustrated a famous film, Anina, and the series Dos Pajaritos. too.
Wow. Okay, so some pretty famous names that are taking part in creating this book, and the book is very interesting. It's very magical. Like you said, Mr. Narigetti, when he sneezes, things happen, wishes come true, and interesting things proceed, right? And so maybe let's talk about what is special about this story, the language that's used to describe these interesting moments.
Well, yeah, the language use is something that I found really interesting because it seems to be designed for children, because they use like funny names and funny expressions that I imagine that when children read it, they find them interesting because of that.
Like the main character's name, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain kind of what that means in Spanish?
Well, Narigetti is related to nariz, that is the nose, and that's because when the main part of the story refers to his sneezes that is related to his nose. So maybe the author, I suppose, that chose that name because of that condition.
Right, connecting that he has this weird, talent of sneezing with his nose, and the illustration of Mr. Narigetti. Can you describe what he looks like?
Well, he's like a common sir, but if you look at it, something interesting is that his nose is really big and it is also red. So I think that the illustrator also focused on that of making the nose, that is very important in the story, something bigger and red, so children and people look at it.
Yeah, it's kind of humorous. It's a little exaggerated and goes with his name. What are some challenges when you're trying to explain this story in English? Because this is originally a story written in Spanish, right?
That's true. Well, related to that, the language will be something complicated because of that we're saying about the relation between the names and the part of the body in this case. And also the expressions that they use, exaggerated expressions like requete complicadísimas. That is something that with less we understand what the author is saying, but she chooses like exaggerate more that expression. Or the same happens with super extra carísimas. That is the same. And also some challenge could be about the analogy using elements from our country or the region, like como un flan sin dulce de leche, to refer something bad, terrible.
Yeah.
That maybe a person that is from another country or that doesn't know what is that food doesn't understand how bad it is for him.
Right. These were things when I was reading that I recognized that, okay, there's some humor here, right? But it took you talking to me about it for me to truly understand like the meaning. Because something maybe a little more impactful in English, instead of like como un flan sin dulce de leche, would have been like apple pie without vanilla ice cream, right?
Yeah.
That's a very American type of, North American type of
Isn't in that
dessert.
way. Maybe you understand, but it hasn't got the same effect on the people who's reading.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a difference that we found in the story. Do you find any connections between North American and Uruguayan culture? Anything that was similar throughout the story?
Well, something that happens in these books, and I think that in many other books for children, is that it is reflected a value, that values are universal, so it could be a similarity. In this case, we can see that the book reflects materialism or selfishness from people who ask to navigate it to obtain material things. So I think that this is something that is similar to our Uruguayan country and the North American, because I know that there are books that also talk about other values for children.
Right. There's so many books that encourage children to share and to be generous and giving, and to not focus only on themselves. And I think some characters in this book might take advantage of Mr. Narighetti and his talents.
Yeah, they don't think about how is he feeling, that he's ill most of the time, so they only want to ask for things, but not focus on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And at the end, how does it resolve?
Well, at the end, do you want me to tell the final of the book?
Oh, should we let them read it? Maybe we should save that for the end. Maybe what would you say is the final moral or the lesson at the end?
Well, I think that is related to that we were talking about, that we should consider the others and not only what we want. And it could also be related to not ask for silly things, because most of the characters were asking like silly things that were not really important, but also focus on the others, that in this case Mr. Narighetti could ask for help, or he was not in his best mood. So considering that, I think that the moral is to not be selfish and consider the others around us.
That's a great moral at the end of a children's story. And I would love to ask you if there's any other things that you want to talk about this story, anything that you really want to make sure to tell the listeners.
Well, something that we mentioned, but maybe it's important to repeat it, is that it's a national book, that it was made by an Uruguayan author and an illustrator from here, from Rocha. So it's something important that we as Uruguayan read these books and know that they are as good as other books that can be written in another places.
Exactly. Uruguay has some of the best stuff you'll ever see. So, guys, go out there, buy the book, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much, Camila, for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Great. Thank you for listening to Hopscotch. Please tune in to our other episodes for more cross-cultural discussions and storytelling. Many thanks to our guest, Camila. She is a student at Instituto Formación Docente in Rocha, studying to become a primary school English teacher. Finally, special thanks to the U.S. Fulbright program for providing me the opportunity to work with this great class in IFD. Until next time, this is Erin signing off.